So it was, the fix for it is about I don't know, 6 or 8 pages of instructions. You go to settings and so forth. And I got lost in the process. I tried it and I tried it twice. I gave up because you really need 2 computers to manage. At least I do. You're looking at one and following the steps. But it was kind of strange because I'm not able to update, and I don't know why it would have anything to do with my HP printer is the first question. The second one, I think it has to do with you, Hewie. You've talked about using Word for dictation, the voice microphone in Word. And what I want to do is my Corvette Club, we're having a St. Patrick's Day lunch dinners coming up, and I want to compose 10 questions related to St. Patrick's Day. A lot of the myths that we think, like, the color and where St. Patrick's Day started. And I want to make it in form of 5 possible answers. There's 10 questions. How do you format something like that when you're doing diction? So Hewie, will go with you first.
Or can I answer the printer question first? That'll give Hewie some time to think about his answer. So my advice on the printer is unplug the printer, uninstall the printer, do your update, and then just replug the printer in and it'll work fine.
Thinking the same thing.
That would be my suggestion.
Just just unplug it and delete the printer. Just uninstall the printer so you don't have any printers, and then just do the update, and then just plug your printer back in and it'll find it and install the printer drivers and you'll be good to go.
That's not the official HP answer. That's the HP answer is buy a new printer.
Yeah.
What I did do is not as far as I shut it down and started it back up and see if that helped. And of course that didn't help. And Drew, that's not a bad answer, but I just bought the printer in September, so it's not that old.
When you said you turned it off and started up again, you talking about your computer or the printer?
The printer.
Yeah.
Actually, try unplugging it from the wall.
Oh,
well, I'd unplug it. I'd pull it right out. Don't plug it into your computer. Unplug it right out and just take it out, uninstall the printer in your settings, and then update, and then replug it back in, and you'll be fine.
Right. I think Ron is right on target.
Yep.
Okay, I'll try that. Thank you.
And Carl, on the other question, why not use Chat GPT and ask it? You're not asking for information that wasn't around in 2021. Well, and it will do an excellent job of answering your question and give you an outline. And
hey, I'm a little arrogant. I think I'm smarter than Chat GPT.
You're right, Carl. You are arrogant. Just a little bit.
Carl, combine your talents. Combine your talents between the two.
Bill, I'm modest and proud of it.
Yeah, Carl, I don't know.
Working harder than you have to.
Yeah, but he knows the answers, what he wants. He just wants it formatted. And
well, it will do that for you.
Yeah. Well, basically, I wrote all the questions out, the 10 questions, and then I gave 5 possible answers. One typical question was, like, why do we as a club celebrate St. Patrick's Day? And I gave there's a lot of new members that, the president of the club is Irish and, and things like that, which are nonsensical. So add a little humor, but it's a question of formatting it in a, I don't want to type it. I'm not a typist. So I thought I would dictate it, but I want to dictate it in a format of a question and then 5 answers.
Yeah, I don't remember if there are commands to do formatting or not. Yeah, what you might want to do is just look for the commands for voice dictation, and if there isn't, and then I would just get the information in and then format it.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Can I ask a question about Venmo? This is Pamela.
Sure, go ahead.
So I had downloaded the app, did a login, but never fully got set up. And I decided I don't want it. So I haven't really logged back in, but the app is still on my phone. But every now and then I get an email saying somebody tried to log in. How do I now delete it? If I just delete the app, my phone, my connection and phone number and email is still associated with it.
Did you create an account with Venmo?
Yes, I did a login.
So you actually created an account. Is there an
Go back to
option?
your account and
Yeah.
get rid of it,
Yeah, uninstall the account.
and then get rid of the app.
Can we send the pictures?
Okay, so what you're saying is to log back in and disconnect any account information?
Well,
Correct.
there should be in the account settings where you can deactivate or remove
Okay.
account or something
Right.
like that. And that should, you want to make sure the account's gone.
Right. That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
So I'm
just
looking
take-
for a deactivate inside of the app.
Yeah, they're in your account. You want to get rid of the Venmo account, right?
Right. Okay.
And
Alright.
once you've done that in the account itself, then get rid of the app.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Hey, we're on a roll here. I think we're getting all the answers. There we go. Any more easy
Oh.
questions for us so that we can, we want to keep getting a roll here.
If we have an answer, they're always easy. If we don't have an answer, I don't care how simple it is.
Yeah.
It's
What you
not
don't
easy.
understand is we've got Bob in the background with Chat GPT. He's asking Chat GPT
No.
the answers and it's making us look good. Go ahead, Bill.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was curious. Earlier, I was looking at the transcript, and somehow I muted it or something, and the transcript went away. Does anybody know how I bring it back?
You're on a PC?
Yeah.
Down at the bottom in your menu, it'll say show captions, CC. Click it. Click the arrow next to it. And view full transcript.
If you don't see that, you can go to where it says more.
Or,
And
yeah.
under more, it will also have, since I don't show them, for me, it just says captions. That would turn them on.
Didn't do it. Maybe I'll have to go back out and come back in.
Just click on the CC at the bottom, show captions. Don't click the up arrow, just click the
Yeah,
button. It should do it.
that's all I did. Turns it right on.
That's all I did. I turned it on. Yeah.
That brings them up on the screen, but not in the box.
Well, that's where it goes on the screen.
I don't know what you mean by in the box.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Ivana,
I have a question. I got a notice from Microsoft to update. It says at 2023 about mail server management. Is this for real? I don't know. If I go in and put all my information in, is this really from Microsoft?
No,
Oh,
No,
Doesn't sound
No.
like it.
no,
no.
Okay.
that's not a
Okay.
Microsoft request for an update.
Okay. Thank you.
Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, got a question for Hewie. On the Hewie.net, there was a list of the utilities and stuff for March, and there was the top File Explorer replacements. I just wondered if Hewie had tried any of those, or if there were any that he thought that were really good or not.
No, I just grabbed the article. I really haven't delved into it yet.
Okay.
I use a program called Explorer Plus Plus.
Yeah, that was one that was on the list. Yeah. Is it any good?
It's a little bit old fashioned, but I like it that way. It has multiple tabs. It has persistent tabs, which means that when you shut the program down and you open it up again, the 4 or 5 tabs that I have open reopen again, which I like a lot.
Will it show you the size of folders?
You can adjust the size of the folders just to be either be details or little boxes or big boxes, or like you can with regular File Explorer.
Yeah, the trouble with the File Explorer is it doesn't show you the size of the folders unless you hover the mouse over the folder, and then it shows you the size, which is silly.
Oh, you're talking about it shows, you can optionally in the menus turn on the default. You can change the default so that along with showing the file sizes, it shows the content, the total contents of a file folder. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does that by default too.
Okay. Good.
Hurry.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I have a question about Bing and Edge and all that and the new AI thing. I just got an email last night that says you're in, but I don't see any difference. I want to know what and I tried to look where I would see a difference, what I would do. It says you're in, just talk to us or whatever, but I don't see where you're supposed to do that.
Have you
Are
clicked
you in
on
Bing?
the? Have you
Sorry, what?
clicked on the B?
No. I can
Okay,
try
well,
that.
open up the Edge browser, and on the right-hand side on top, you'll see a B, a blue B. Click on it.
Okay, I'll look at that and see if I get that. It's on a different computer, so I'll look at that before the question and answer period.
Yeah, I got my announcement yesterday, and I went over, and it's interesting. Although Bob, I use ChatGPT every day, and I don't have any trouble with OpenAI and going in that way, and it's just a little cleaner and it's easier, and it's a link in my Chrome browser, and I don't really. It's sort of cool and interesting, but I'm not really sure. I don't know, but I use it through OpenAI all the time.
Like most things with computers, it saves you 3 clicks.
Exactly right.
That's a big deal sometimes.
But it changes things. It changes things. My default home page is not the default home page that I want if I have that active.
Yeah.
So I just simply reserve it for the Edge browser. And when I want to use that function, I open up Edge. But for the rest of the browsers, I'm not changing it.
Yeah.
Because I would have to make Bing the default.
Yeah.
Is ChatGPT more available now? There was a time when
yes,
hard to get in and stuff like that.
I have no problems at all getting into it.
Yeah, I used to have the same problem, George. I'd have to go on at 2:00 in the morning in order to get in. And now, no matter what time of day, apparently they've added a lot more servers, a lot more capacity.
And they're spending a lot more money too.
Well, we've got 7 more minutes. We're just, if you're new here, we're just sitting around having a bit of a social before the show starts. If you want to put up your hand and say hello, if you're new here, we sure like to say, give you a big warm of applause and thanks so much for coming. The show will be starting in about 7 minutes. So grab your coffee, sit back, put your feet up, relax. And we've got a great show for you today.
And if you're shy, just put something in the chat box of a little bit about who you are and how you heard about us too.
Well, it was snowing this morning in Washington State,
It was snowing here this morning.
34 degrees right now.
It was. Well, we sent it down to you. I'm just north of you, so we sent you the snow.
It was a little cool here
Thank
last
you.
night. It was down to 62.
Oh, my God.
Oh, stop that, Hewie. Yeah. What, did you have to get your sweater on?
No, I just it was cool. That's all. Had to put the blanket up a little higher.
Yeah.
Y'all can keep that. We had tornadoes in Oklahoma City last night.
That's what Bill was saying. Yeah.
67 degrees in Georgetown, Texas, and sunny.
There you go.
I want to ask Bob. I heard on the news that the wind in New Mexico was up to 114 miles per hour.
Where I was, it was up to 70 miles an hour. That was enough for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were some places that really had severe winds, not
Yeah, Bob-
tornadoes, just wind.
Bob's been singing the song, The Tumbling Tumbleweeds.
Yeah, I'm trying to give them away.
Did that tower stay up?
Oh yeah, the tower didn't move.
You can spray paint those tumbleweeds gold and put lights in, like Christmas lights in them, and they're just gorgeous.
I'm waiting for somebody to ask, I'd be willing to sell them real cheap. Just pay for the postage. I'll ship them to you.
Why don't you just blow them around, blow them over there, send them up into no, you don't want to send them up in the sky. They might get shot down.
Put them in
You got it.
That's not a good thing. Don't do that.
The first time we were out there, I had never seen such a thing, and I made my husband stop and get me one. He said, "What are you going to do with that?" But he was always asking me that.
I think it was now whoever, Ray, will you correct me on this? Was it in Chandler where they did the tumbleweed Christmas tree, where they put all the tumbleweeds up and made a big Christmas tree out of it? I thought that was in Chandler. We went down and saw it one year. I think it was Chandler.
I don't know.
Did they do a
That may have been
tumbleweed?
before my time, but that
Yeah,
yeah,
they
I've
did
not
a-
even heard of that.
They did a tumbleweed Christmas. It was pretty impressive.
Hey, Ron, yeah, we went down too. It's really big.
Was it Chandler? Was it Chandler, Greg?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was right. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if they still do that, but that was pretty impressive. And then I think at the end they had a big bonfire and they burned it all up in February or January or something. It was pretty, and that was impressive as well.
The one that I saw, they'd painted it all white.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Just be careful because they're very, very easily set on fire. And when you set them on fire, man, do they go up.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. Actually, they explode.
Yes, they do.
It's the oils inside of the stem.
Correct.
I'm having memories of driving out in West Texas and dodging those as I'm driving down the highway and getting hit by one.
We just run over them. They don't really do any damage. And when you hit them, they kind of explode.
They'll scare the devil out of you, I'll tell you that.
Yes. Yep.
And they could get big.
Yes.
Yes.
I've had them out here where they were much taller than I am. They're also wider than I was. The taller is easy. The wider is not so easy.
Bob, what plant is it that makes the tumbleweed?
I don't know.
Anybody? Is it evergreen?
Yeah,
Bob,
it is.
Bob,
And it
quickly,
comes from a
ask
tumbleweed seed.
ChatGPT. Get the answer on ChatGPT, Bob. Look real
good.
smart.
I'm busy letting people in. So
There we go. Well, I guess we'll mute everybody and get going. It looks like we're about that time. So I'll get going. Mute everyone. Good morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Tech for Senior. I'm Ron Brown. I'll be your host today. It is episode 152. Hugh, we're getting close to season 4.
Yep.
Close.
Yeah, it was in March that
And,
we started. So
yeah, you're going to be host next week. So then I guess I get season 4. And it is February the 27th. 2023. I want to welcome everyone for coming. I want to on our Zoom meeting today, and if you're over on our YouTube feed, welcome as well. If it is if you're on a YouTube short, just click the link and it'll take you right to the show. We have a big show for you today. It's a lot of exciting things. We're going to talk about, of course, Bob will have a security news update. We're going to talk about, he's all going to talk about how to hide the taskbar in Windows. We have a special presentation from George Bowden from the Victoria Computer Club on the Raspberry Pi. Thank you for doing that, George. Hewie is going to talk about why, when he had his big debut last time as the host, he crashed. So he'll tell you all about UPSs. And then Bob, of course, is going to give us an update on phishing and all the bad things that are going to happen to you if you're not careful. And Ray has a great music outro. We're then going to move on to the premiere version today. And I'm going to talk, we've got 3 selections for you. I'll put the link in the chat in a moment, but I'm going to talk about how to create an email signature. So if you want a fancy signature and you want to put a signature in your email, I'm going to tell you how to do that. Hewie's going to talk about his history of computers, all the stuff he's had over. He's going to take you through a medley of all the stuff he's done. And it's quite interesting in all the things that he's, all the computer technology. And then he's also going to talk about the ups and downs of bandwidth. So he's got 2 shows today on our premiere event. Now, that is, and that's coming up at 1/2 the hour. And as I said, I'll put the note in the chat. We also have, of course, our Thursday show, and that's coming up this Thursday. And we'll be talking, the theme that we'll be talking about is, would you go to Dr. Amazon? And we're going to talk about Amazon and healthcare and the new features that are coming up with that. We talked a little bit about it on last week's show. For those of you who are subscribed to our newsletter, you will have you're going to save tomorrow some money. Before we get to that, you'll notice that I highlighted in our Saturday newsletter, I do a YouTube channel each week, and this was called Simply Flying. So if you have any travels, you're interested in the airline industry or anything along those lines, Simply Flying is a great YouTube channel. It keeps you up to date, and they have daily releases, and it's a very interesting channel. Again, you'll find the channel that I select each week, and we put it in our Saturday newsletter. So we also have a newsletter, and they'll be out tomorrow, which is our Tuesday newsletter. And there's lots of reasons why you should you should look at tomorrow's newsletter, but I'm going to save you $50 on your Netflix subscription. If you are subscribing to Netflix through your iPhone, I can save you $50 on that. I'm going to tell you how to do that in our newsletter tomorrow, and that will save you on your subscription cost.
Subscription cost for what, Ron? There are no subscription
Oh, that's
costs on
right.
our-
We don't charge, do we?
No, we don't. No.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, you had me stymied there for a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. No, I guess we don't charge. Well, there you go. You know why we don't charge is we don't charge because of the great people who do a donation to help us pay the bills. And today, I'd like to thank Keith Murphy for a very generous donation to Tech for Senior. As you know, we had our fundraising through the month of January, which worked out very well. I'll put the link to our donation. If you missed out, you can certainly do that today, and I'll put that in the chat. And I'd like to thank Keith Murphy for his very generous donation to our Tech for Senior fund, and that helps us pay the bills. So that's where we are today, and we have a big show for you. So we're gonna get going fairly quickly here. So Hewie, are you all ready for next week?
Kind of. What's next week?
Right. I may or may not show up, so you better be on the ball.
Well, you'll have to watch my section today about what happened to me last month.
All right. Okay. Bob, are you you're ready to you're ready to roll? You've got all your
I got all my ducks in a row. Yes.
You got all your ducks in a row.
And to finish up what we did during the chat, Russian thistle creates tumbleweeds.
Those Russians get into everything, don't they?
Yeah, you got that.
And Ray, are you shoveling snow, or what's happening up in?
Actually, I am, because
really,
in past winters, the day after a snowstorm, the temperature would be in the 40s, even 50s, and it would melt. It would be gone. We've had a very cold spell with daytime temperatures staying at about 32 or even lower. So the snow is still here, and we're getting some every week.
Ray, I wanted just to show you something here. Just a minute. Hold on here. Just wanted to show you something. Let's see, basic. Share this. So this was, can you see that, Ray?
Yes.
So this was, a couple of weeks ago, I showed the Eagle Cam, and this was yesterday. This is in Northern California, and of course they're getting some really nasty weather, and everyone's feeling pretty bad. But this poor eagle, she's sitting on a couple of eggs, right? And so you can't see that, but this is on the top of a mountain somewhere in California. It's really high up, and you see it if you look down there when it's nice out. You'll see the gorgeous view that they have. But this and when I looked at this a couple hours later, she was completely covered in snow. You could just see the top of her, and she's sitting on two eggs, so she can't leave, and she's been sitting there for a long time. And I don't know where she's getting. I don't know if she's getting any food, but
Yeah, I was going to say, how does she eat?
I don't know. Well, she's bigger than the male, so maybe there's some hibernation there or something. I don't know.
Okay.
But she stays on it, because if she takes off, it's going to be not so good. So California is definitely having their fair share of weather, eh? And Bill, you survived the tornado.
At least in my area, I survived. I think there was activity in some of the surrounding towns, but the whole state was under alert. But currently, right now, it's 62 degrees here.
Okay, very good.
So that's relatively warm. It's going to be hopefully a nice day.
Anne Marie said Big Bear had 7 feet of snow. Yikes.
Oh my God.
Well, all the reservoirs are full. That's a good news. Yes.
Well, my cousin that lives in Anchorage, she sent a picture, and she's just covered with snow, which is kind of unusual for them.
And of course, The mildest weather in the whole world and the nicest place to live is Victoria, British Columbia. And that's, of course, where George Bowden is today. And thank you, George, as our special guest. Welcome, George, to the show. I know that you know a lot about the show. You know everybody here, but I like to, thank you for coming and doing the presentation today.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of cold weather, unusually, as you.
Are the tulips up yet in Victoria?
I haven't seen them. The snowdrops,
Gotcha.
I guess, are out. But that's about it.
Yeah. Well, they'll be up pretty soon. All right, Bob, are you ready to roll?
I think so.
All right, take her away.
Let's get the show going. Here is the Avast Security News Roundup for the week ending February 24th, 2023. Coinbase employee falls for SMS scam in cyber attack. Limited data exposed. Popular cryptocurrency exchange platform Coinbase disclosed that it experienced a cybersecurity attack that targeted its employees. The company said its cyber control prevented the attacker from gaining direct system access and prevented any loss of funds or compromise of customer information. The incident, which took place on February 5th, 2023, resulted in the exposure of a limited amount of data from its directory, including employee names, email addresses, and some phone numbers. As part of the attack, several employees were targeted in an SMS phishing campaign urging them to sign into their company account to read an important message. Read more at the Hacker News. The Supreme Court is deciding the future of the Internet. The oral arguments for Gonzalez versus Google covered a surprisingly nuanced series of real-world concerns. We're a court. We really don't know about these things. These are not the 9 greatest experts on the Internet. Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan made the wryly self-deprecating comment early in oral arguments from Gonzalez versus Google, a potentially landmark case covering Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996. The remark was a nod to many people's worst fears about the case. Gonzalez could unwind core legal protection for the Internet. I personally think that the court will send this back to Congress for final action. Read more at The Verge. ChatGPT launches boom in AI-written ebooks on Amazon. Until recently, Brett Schickler never imagined he could be a published author, though he had dreamed about it. But after learning about the ChatGPT artificial intelligence program, Schickler figured an opportunity had landed in his lap. The idea of writing a book finally seemed possible, said Schickler, a salesman in Rochester, New York. I thought, I can do this. Using the AI software, which can generate blocks of text from simple prompts, Schickler created a 30-page illustrated children's ebook in a matter of hours, offering it for sale in January through Amazon.com Inc.'s self-publishing unit. Read more at Reuters. Lazarus Group likely using WinOr DLL64 backdoor to exfiltrate sensitive data. A new backdoor associated with a malware downloader named WS-Link has been discovered, with the tool likely used by the notorious North Korean aligned Lazarus Group, new findings reveal. The payload, dubbed WinOr DLL64 by ESET, is a fully featured implant that can exfiltrate, overwrite, and delete files, execute PowerShell commands, and obtain comprehensive information about the underlying machine. Its other features compromise listing active sessions, creating and terminating processes, enumerating drives, and compressing directories. Read more at the Hacker News. Don't trust the data safety labels on these Android apps. The data safety labels in the Play Store listing for many Android apps may themselves need a warning label, according to a new study from Mozilla opens in a new window. The non-profit organization behind the Firefox browser checked the Google mandated labels opens in a new window for the top 20 free and paid Android apps and found that most of the disclosures about data collection, usage, and sharing didn't match the descriptions in the app's privacy policies. Read the full story at pcmag.com. AI-generated comic artwork loses U.S. copyright protection. On Tuesday, the U.S. Copyright Office declared that images created using the AI-powered Mid-Journey image generator for the comic book Zaraya of the Lawn should not have been granted copyright protection, and the image's copyright protection will be revoked. Despite precedents for earlier algorithmically generated artwork receiving copyright protection, this ruling means that AI-generated imagery without human-authored elements cannot currently be copyrighted in the United States. The Copyright Office's ruling on the matter will likely hold unless it's challenged in court, revised by law, or re-examined in the future. Read more at Ars Technica. Apple warns of 3 new vulnerabilities affecting iPhone, iPad, and Mac devices. Apple has revised the security advisories it released last month to include 3 new vulnerabilities impacting iOS, iPad OS, and Mac OS. The first flaw is a race condition in the crash reporter component that could enable a malicious actor to read arbitrary files as root. The iPhone maker said it addressed the issue with additional validation. The 2 other vulnerabilities credited to Trellix researcher Austin Emmett reside in the Foundation framework and could be weaponized to achieve code execution. More details at the Hacker News. This week's must-read on the Avast blog. Read Avast's top articles on how to avoid getting tricked by an IRS scam. Read the article at the link listed. Did you know? Iconic comedy film Monty Python and the Holy Grail was financed by Pink Floyd. The Windows 95 installation disc shipped with a music video featuring Weezer. Sega produced but never released a VR headset in the 1990s. Which game console came to market only because Nintendo rejected it? If you said PlayStation, you're correct. Just thought you might want to know. And that wraps up this week's edition of the Avast Security News Roundup. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye. Have you ever wished for some extra screen real estate? There's an easy way to gain some usable real estate on your screen by simply not having that taskbar get in the way when you're visiting something where you would like to have as much real estate available as possible. Let me show you how to make a small little change and get that taskbar out of your way. Start by opening Settings. Let's go to the Start menu, Settings. Next, select Personalization. And when that opens up, scroll down until you see Taskbar. And the next thing we're looking for is Taskbar Behavior. Click on that down arrow, and you have some choices. By default, it's in the center. You could change it to the left, but that still won't give you any extra real estate. However, automatically hide the taskbar will get it out of the way until you actually select it. So let's select that and watch what happens. Look at that. We just gained all that real estate. But if we need to get to the taskbar itself, just scroll all the way down and it'll pop back up. And then click someplace else and it'll disappear again. But now all that real estate that the taskbar usually takes up is yours to use in whatever window you have open. Stay safe, stay secure. I hope that helps. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bob. Is that in Windows 10 and 11, the taskbar?
Sure is.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna try that. That's a good hint. That's great. Thanks a lot. Well, all right. So listen, George, I think I've made you co-host. You can certainly, I want to introduce George Bowden. Of course, we did that earlier. And we're going to talk today about Raspberry Pi. And I have always been fascinated with this device, and I wanted to learn more about it. So I was excited when George offered to do the presentation. So George, do you want to share your screen?
Sure, I'll start right in with the slideshow.
Okay, that'd be great.
You see that okay?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, we'll get rid of that. So why Raspberry Pi? Well, the name Raspberry Pi follows the tradition of computers that have named themselves after some kind of fruit. So that's where the raspberry comes from. And the Pi is from the Python language, which is the programming language. So I finished my explanation. I can go home now, right? It's about the size of a pack of cards. It has taken the optimization that has happened in downsizing the size of chips and everything, and put that all on a single board and made it a device that can be programmed for use very cheaply. And it has done what many, excuse me, many hobbyists would like to use. So its main goal was to help young people discover computers at a low cost, but it soon became popular for other uses. It's commonly programmed in Python. It runs the Linux operating system from an SD card that's inserted in the board, so you don't see hard drives attached to these things. It's powered from a USB charger, typically. Small power device. It's therefore silent. It doesn't require a fan usually, and it's very low power. So it acts as a very low power server in some cases. Along the back here, you can see the pins that are the general purpose IO pins that make it different from other devices. So like most computers and smartphones, it has an HDMI, well, smartphones don't have an HDMI, but most PCs have an HDMI that connect to a display. It has USB keyboard and mouse that you would connect to it. It has an Ethernet jack. It has Wi-Fi, and it has a speaker jack. It lacks a case, a fan, and internal power supply. But that 40-pin header includes 28 multi-purpose input-output pins, and I've shown a picture of that, a diagrammatic picture of that. So you get 5 volts, you get ground, and then you get 28 general-purpose I/O pins, which are connected to external devices. It has a camera header, and it's often run without a monitor and keyboard attached via SSH or VNC. A lot of times, people put these hardware added to the top boards are plugged into that 40-pin connector on the back. And also people can make their own hardware added on top. They contain typically a variety of sensors and the controllers. Controllers are like these relays here. So you can control 4 AC powered devices with this hat that's plugged into the Raspberry Pi. People use this to do control of watering systems, like the sprinkler systems and things like that. That's a common use for it. Because of this ability to add hardware to this device, a large maker community has developed hardware and software, and a lot of copy and paste practices have enlarged the community tremendously. And because that's been so successful, this form factor of these 40 pins and the connectors has become a basis for many competing small single board computers. So this is called a single board computer, this piece underneath. And there's orange pies, there's other pies too. So this is a relay hat from BC Robotics. It's from a town that's in between Ron and myself, Nanaimo, and they design these and sell them. You can make your own do-it-yourself hats. So here I've made a little connector and plugged it onto the 40 pins, and I'm running it out. And although all these wires are here, only 3 are actually used to activate this relay. So makers often build their own hats by connecting manufactured generic modules to the 40-pin connector. This is a manufactured module that I purchased for under $2. And there's all kinds of these modules available, sensor modules and things like that. RPI controls actuators based on sensor data. So you'll sense temperature or brightness, time of day. You can sense mass or motion or dampness, electricity, current, things like that. So based on all of these sensors, you can make up an algorithm that says, well, when these conditions exist, I want you to turn on a light or a heater or an alarm. That was my first use of this, was actually to build an alarm system for my house. I had a bunch of sensors around the house, and I would send myself a text message when I was not in the town that something was going on in the house that shouldn't be. You can log that sensor data if you're, for instance, making a weather station out of the device. You can log it, and you can also display that on a web page. Here's a picture of a weather station that is using a Raspberry Pi. You can use it as an appliance without the hats. To me, that's not the appeal. The appeal of this device is that you can add the hats to it. And, you know, I'm an popular electronics reader. There were a lot of us in the early, 1960s, 70s, 80s, who were electronic hobbyists, I guess, and we would build our own radios and stuff like that. And I think you could buy popular electronics in all of the stores. You could buy radio electronics in all of the stores. Those have disappeared. But this whole Raspberry Pi movement and other single board computer movements has rejuvenated that community. So we are all doing stuff with that. And those communities exist right around the world. But without the hats, you can run it as a desktop PC. This is a picture of a desktop, and there's the drop-down menu of typical functions of a computer. You can use it as an ad blocker attached to your modem or router. Then it will swallow up the adverts and prevent them from being on your computer. You can use it as a wireless print server for older printers. These are the most common uses that people make of a Raspberry Pi without a hat. A media player is pretty common. People use them like that. And game server, a retro game machine, security camera. If you use it for one purpose, let's suppose you use it in the summer to turn on fans and stuff like that. Well, in the winter, you can reuse that device by unplugging that hat and plugging another hat on top. So then Raspberry Pi brought out a smaller device called the Pico. It's a microcontroller. So there's a difference between a microcontroller and a single board computer. The microcontroller does not run the Linux operating system. And it still is programmed with Python, the programming language, and it still has all these GPIOs, these general purpose IO connections that you can connect to external modules. But it runs much lower power. It doesn't. You can run this off batteries, and so this is what is an interest also for many people. This has come out in the last couple of years. Now, the availability of the single board computer, the Raspberry Pi 4, has been simply unavailable. It has been so popular that they cannot keep up with the availability. They say they're going to fix that problem this year. But in the meantime, there's many other types of single board computers that use the same form factor. And I think they'll even run the same operating system. So that's the end of my piece. Let me stop sharing. Okay. How much time was that?
Oh, yeah. Excuse me, we got 5 minutes left. So George, George, do you, so when you buy the Raspberry Pi, it's not in a case or anything. It's just
it's just a board.
It's just the board, eh? Okay. And would you mount that board on something? Do you screw it down to a piece of wood?
You can buy cases for them. I mean, the new Raspberry Pi runs hotter than many of the older ones. So if you're going to run it near its capacity, you're going to need a case that actually has a little fan or a large heat sink in it. Okay. So like I'll show you here. This is a Raspberry Pi in a case.
Okay.
So you can get this case, and this case actually has a little board attached inside that pops out 2 HDMIs and other connections. But this doesn't have a fan. Might have a fan in it, but I don't think it has. I think it's just passive cooling. And this is a typical case that you can buy. But these are half the price of the Raspberry Pi, and I tend not to use them.
So, and George, when you could get a Raspberry Pi, like what would be the cost of a Raspberry Pi?
Well, in Canada, they were running about $60 or something like that, maybe $80. And now they're 150. People are buying up the stock and reselling them, which is a bit of a scalping thing.
Right.
But the leader of the Raspberry Pi Foundation says that bottleneck of availability is going to be solved this year.
Okay.
So and the Raspberry Pi has other modules. You can get some of the other modules. There's a Raspberry Pi compute module, which is often used by manufacturers of other devices, and it's inserted and used in that. So some of those other modules are available. And the older Raspberry Pis, the Raspberry Pi 2 and the Raspberry Pi 3, they've got everything that I need. We're running it. And these are really powerful machines. I mean, we have a class, we run 20 instances of terminals on a Raspberry Pi in a class, and off a single Raspberry Pi. And it handles Linux containers fine. So you can run, containers are instances of Linux that all run beside each other on one Raspberry Pi. Quite a powerful machine.
Michael, go ahead. Do you have a question?
So how many Pis do you have, George?
Well, we had a fellow who passed away in Duncan, and they donated a lot of equipment to us. So I'm sitting here with the 1, 2, 3, 4 in front of me, and there's probably a couple that are deployed around my house, sensing whether the fridge is about to melt or stuff like that.
Carl, any questions?
Just a comment. If any of the experimenters like me, there is no shortage of pies. I have 2 or 3 in my basement of projects that I started but never finished.
Yeah,
and I'm willing to bet there's millions of them out there like that.
There is no shortage of pies, just that the sellers can't get their hands on.
Right. Good one. Ivana, do you have a question? Unmute yourself.
I have the 2023 Raspberry Handbook, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
have some neat projects in there, like the one where they track meteorites and they use security cameras and they make maps. This is in the UK, but they have them stacked up for high. Is your class open to anybody or?
Yeah, well, actually, the Raspberry Pi group is a spin-off or associated with the Victoria Computer Club. I'll put in the chat the link to the Raspberry Pi site, and we have a lot of projects that are on the website and stuff like that, and classes and lessons that people have given.
That's good. Thanks so much, George. We look forward to maybe some more presentations from you. We'll talk soon. All right. Thanks so much. Will you be around in the after the show for the chat? The Q&A? Okay, great. Hewie, Ivana, we're just going to move on now. We'll deal with your question maybe in the Q&A. Hewie, all right. Tell us your tale of woe.
Yeah, let me get to it here. By full screen it, there we go. And also well, I'll just powerless, coping with a failed UPS in a critical moment. I'm Hewie Poplock. A few weeks ago on Tech for Senior, I was to do 2 presentations. As I was about to start my first one, all of a sudden, my computer went away. Everything was dead. I was so embarrassed, but I couldn't do anything. So my part of the Tech for Senior program that Monday went away. We just weren't able to use it. My power didn't shut off, but my computer and UPS did. When the power goes out, the UPS, or uninterruptible power supply, should provide temporary power to my computer and other connected devices until I can safely shut them down. However, if the power outage was sudden and the UPS was not able to switch to battery power fast enough, it's possible that my computer shut down before the UPS could take over. It's also possible that the UPS battery was drained or malfunctioned, causing it to shut down and cut power to my computer. In this case, I may need to replace the battery or the entire UPS unit if it's not functioning properly. And I was convinced this was my issue. You see, UPSs have a spec called switchover time that's different for each one of them. Simply put, it's the time taken by a UPS to switch over to its battery backup in case of a power failure. There is always a small delay, about 5 to 10 milliseconds, before the battery backup can pick up the load of the computer. During this small delay, the power supply to the PC is entirely cut off. The PSU, or power supply unit, of the PC is supposed to compensate for this short power loss by discharging its capacitor so that the power to the motherboard and all peripherals are not interrupted. Here's a chart talking about that. But that wasn't my issue. This was the UPS that I had. It's a APC Backups XS1300. And this is the back of it. I'm going to show you and talk about that a little bit more in just a few slides. The unit itself is no longer available. I think I've had it for about 10 years. It was discontinued in September. However, I can get replacement batteries for about $90. And these are what the batteries look like. They're heavy. They're a lot like an automobile battery. Here is the back of the UPS that died. And you will see that there's different plugs. If I had realized what was going on and I could get on the floor and of course get up, I could have probably unplugged those items in the battery backup outlets and put them in the surge protected outlets. I could have had my computer back up and running, but by the time I did all of that and then try to get up from the floor underneath my desk, it would have been time for everything to end anyway. So I didn't worry about it at the time. Some of those surge protected outlets are also being used, so I would have had to switch some things around. So it wasn't possible to do. So number one, input power. The UPS is connected to a power source, typically a wall outlet or a generator that supplies AC power. A rectifier, the incoming AC power, is converted to DC power by a rectifier. Then the battery, the DC power, is then used to charge a battery that's typically housed within the UPS. The battery is the primary source of power for the UPS. And then there's an inverter. When the power supply from the wall outlet or generator is interrupted, the battery takes over and the DC power is then converted back to AC power by the inverter. And then the output power, the AC power output from the inverter, is then supplied to the devices or equipment that are connected to the UPS. And there's an automatic voltage regulation. The UPS devices often include automatic voltage regulation, or AVR, that can adjust the voltage output to compensate for voltage fluctuations or spikes in the input power. This helps protect the connected equipment from damage. And I have suggested to some people who have power issues in their homes, they may have voltage regulation needed. The voltage may go up and down, and those would cause their computers to shut off and maybe reboot. So some of the times a UPS can solve some of those issues. The amount of time that a UPS can provide backup power depends upon the capacity of the battery and the amount of power that your devices are using. A large battery can provide backup power for a longer period of time, while devices that use more power will drain the battery more quickly. There are three main types of UPS systems. There's the standby UPS. This type of UPS is the most basic and economical. It works by monitoring the incoming power and switching to battery power if there's an outage or fluctuation. Standby UPS systems are commonly used for home computers and small office equipment. Line interactive UPSs. This type of UPS is similar to a standby UPS, but includes a voltage regulator to stabilize the incoming power. Line interactive UPS systems are commonly used for more critical equipment, such as servers, networking devices, and medical equipment. And then there's the online UPSs. This type of UPS provides the highest level of protection and is often used in data centers, hospitals, and other critical infrastructure. Online UPS systems work by constantly converting the incoming power to battery power and then back to AC power to ensure a steady and clean output. Here's what the inline systems for large facilities are like. Here's another one, and here is even another. Obviously, these are much more than you need in your home. It's important to note that a UPS is not a substitute for a backup generator or long-term power outage solution. A UPS is designed to provide temporary backup power for a limited amount of time. If you need to power your devices for an extended period, a backup generator would be a more suitable option. In addition to the loss of backup power, a dead battery in a UPS can also cause other issues. For example, if the UPS is not able to properly detect a power outage or voltage sag due to the dead battery, it may not switch over to battery power as intended. This could lead to an unexpected loss of power to connected devices or systems, potentially causing data loss or other issues. If the UPS fails to provide power after a battery failure, it may be necessary to replace the battery or the entire UPS unit, depending upon the severity of the battery damage and the age of the unit. It is also important to note that some UPS models may have safety features to prevent them from providing power when the battery is damaged to avoid potential hazards such as overheating, fire, or explosion. And I feel
that this is what happened to me, that the batteries have failed in the UPS. If the UPS is still good, I can replace the batteries and it still should work fine. But it is a much older UPS and I'm going to have that checked as well. Here's what I replaced it with. I replaced it with an 850 volt amp. It is a Cyber Power. It was $109. And it has 3 different sections on the power strip. There's Eco Control, which when the UPS detects a computer is off or is in sleep mode, it'll automatically turn off power to computer peripherals connected to the Eco Mode outlets, reducing power usage and lowering energy. And then there's surge protected outlets that are only surge protected. If the power goes out, they go out. And then there's battery supported and surge protected. That means if the UPS goes to battery, those items plugged in there will work until the batteries deplete, and they're also surge protected. The Cyber Power UPS that I got came with a wire that I couldn't quite figure out what it was for until after I got everything plugged in and looked at the manual. I do read manuals. You plug it into the UPS on one end and to a USB on the computer on the other end. You install the software and it will give you status and information. Now here's what the current status of my unit looked like when I did it with the software. It said that I had 50 minutes of runtime and that I was only using 61 watts as a UPS load. Then if I looked at the summary, it told me the number of times that I had a power outage, or if I rebooted the computer, shut it off and turned it back on, it indicated that as a power outage because there was no power going to the computer. And then there were also event logs that I can take a look to see what's going on. Under energy reporting, I can see what the consumption is. I can also look at the voltage, and I can run a self-test to see if I have any issues. Here is the several models from the Cyber Power UPSs that they have, and I decided on the 850. In conclusion, a UPS stops providing power when the battery fails because the battery is the primary component that stores energy and provides backup power. Therefore, it is essential to regularly maintain and replace the battery to ensure the UPS functions properly and provides reliable backup power in case of power outages or other disruptions. Here's what the one looks like, and there are certain plugs that do certain things on it. This has been Powerless, Coping with a Failed UPS in a Critical Moment. I'm Hewie Poplock.
Thanks, Hewie. Does that mean we're going to have an uninterruptible show next week?
I sure hope so. And I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use the same 2 videos that didn't play.
All right. Bob, take it away.
All righty. What is phishing and can you protect against it? Phishing is a type of cyber attack in which an attacker tries to trick a victim into revealing sensitive information such as login credentials, credit card numbers, and personal information. Phishing attacks typically involve the use of emails, instant messages, or other communication channels that appear to be legitimate but are actually fake and designed to steal information from the victim. Phishing attacks can take many different forms, but they often involve a message that appears to come from a trusted source, such as a bank, an online retailer, or a social media website. The message may contain a link to a fake website that looks like a real one, or it may ask the victim to provide sensitive information directly through the message. Causes of phishing. Phishing attacks are usually motivated by financial gain or by a desire to obtain sensitive information that can be used for identity theft. Phishing attackers typically use social engineering techniques to manipulate the victim into taking some kind of action, such as clicking on a link, opening an attachment, or providing sensitive information. One common technique used in phishing attacks is to create fake websites or emails that look like they come from a legitimate source, such as a bank, social media site, or online retailer. The attacker may use convincing graphics, logos, and other elements to make the message or website look legitimate, and then use language designed to create a sense of urgency or fear, such as warning the victim of a security breach or threatening to close their account if they don't act quickly. Other techniques used in phishing attacks include spear phishing, which targets specific individuals with customized messages, and whaling, which targets high-profile individuals such as executives or celebrities. Protection against phishing. To protect against phishing attacks, there are a number of steps you can take. Be cautious of unsolicited emails or messages, especially if they contain urgent or threatening language. Phishing emails often use scare tactics to get you to act quickly, so it's important to take a step back and think before clicking on any links or providing any sensitive information. Look for signs that the email may not be legitimate, such as spelling or grammatical errors, or a sense of urgency that seems disproportionate to the situation. Verify the sender's email address or phone number before responding or clicking on any links. Phishing emails often use spoofed or fake email addresses or phone numbers to make the message appear to come from a legitimate source. Before responding to any message or clicking on any link, take a moment to verify the sender's identity by checking the email address or phone number. If you're not sure, contact the sender directly through a different channel to confirm their identity. Check the URL of any link in the message to make sure they match the website you expect to visit. Phishing emails often include links to fake websites that look like legitimate ones. Before clicking on any link, hover over the link to see the URL it leads to. If the URL looks suspicious or doesn't match the website you expect to visit, don't click on the link. Do not provide sensitive information in response to an unsolicited message. Never provide sensitive information such as your login credentials, social security number, or credit card information in response to an unsolicited message. Legitimate organizations will never ask you to provide this information through an email or message. Install anti-phishing software or browser extensions that can help detect and block phishing attacks. There are many tools available that can help protect against phishing attacks, such as anti-phishing software or browser extensions. These tools can help detect and block phishing websites, alert you to suspicious links, and provide other security features to help keep you safe. Use multi-factor authentication on all of your online accounts to add an extra layer of security. Multi-factor authentication is an important security feature that adds an extra layer of protection to your online accounts. By requiring a second factor, such as a text message or authentication app in addition to your password, multi-factor authentication can help prevent unauthorized access to your accounts even if your password is compromised. Keep your computer and devices up to date with the latest security updates and patches. Keeping your computer and devices up to date with the latest security updates and patches is an important part in protecting against all types of cyber attacks, including phishing. These updates often include security fixes and patches that can help prevent attackers from exploiting known vulnerabilities. Educate yourself and others about the risk of phishing and how to avoid falling victim to these types of attacks. Finally, education is key when it comes to protecting against phishing attacks. By learning about the risk of phishing and how to avoid falling victim to these types of attacks, you can help protect yourself and others from becoming a victim. Share this knowledge with your friends, family, and colleagues to help spread awareness about the importance of online security.
Thanks, Bob. I'm going to try Pictionary. That looks good. I like that.
I like Pictionary so much, I'm actually paying for it.
Yeah,
And I'm learning. I'm learning more and more about it. That was a first try, and it's pretty crude. It's gotten better.
But it's good. Yeah, I like it. Thanks. Yep. Thanks. All right, Ray, before you get going, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming over on YouTube. We'll be signing off our YouTube feed now. Remember, if you want to come over and join us and participate in the Q&A, you're most welcome to do that. Just come over to our Zoom meeting. Don't forget, if you are want to see us on Thursday, we'll be doing our Thursday show. And the question is, would you visit Dr. Amazon? So go ahead, Ray.